Hello and welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here with us today. I'm Emma, and I'm here with Max.
Hi, everyone. We know many of you are looking for ways to learn English that really work. It's not easy, right? But there are some tools that can make learning English easier and even more fun.
Absolutely, learning a language can be tough, especially if you're just starting out. But there are so many tools out there, and today we're going to talk about the ones that can help you the most. Some of these you might know, and some might be new to you. We'll go through each one and explain how it can help with things like vocabulary, listening, speaking, and more.
Yes, and I think one of the best things about using tools is that they can make learning feel less like studying and more like something you enjoy doing every day. Okay, Emma, where should we start?
Let's start with one of the most popular tools for English learners, language learning apps. There are some great apps out there like Duolingo, Babbel, and HelloTalk. Have you tried any of those, Max?
Oh yes, I have. I think these apps are great because they make it easy to practice a little bit every day. Duolingo, for example, gives you short lessons and you can even learn from your mistakes.
Exactly, and with HelloTalk, you can chat with people who speak English as their native language. You write messages in English, and they can correct you and help you learn. Then, you can help them with your language too. It's a nice way to practice real conversations.
Yeah, and you don't need to worry if you make mistakes. Everyone's learning, so it's okay to just try your best. Now, another tool that's really helpful is YouTube. There are tons of videos for English learners at different levels. You can watch videos about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and even just people talking in English. It's a good way to hear how English sounds in real life.
Definitely, and you can slow down the speed of the video if it's too fast. That's helpful, especially for beginners. Plus, you can turn on subtitles to see the words on the screen. It's like watching a movie, but also learning English.
Right, and speaking of movies, let's not forget Netflix or other streaming services. Watching shows in English can really help. You can start with subtitles in your own language and then, as you get better, switch to English subtitles. It's a fun way to improve listening skills.
That's such a good point, Max. It's great to hear different accents too, and to learn the kinds of words people use every day. But now, let's talk about a tool that's perfect for practicing speaking. Many people worrying about sounding perfect, but that's not what's important. What matters is just practicing, and that's where voice recording apps come in.
Oh yes, that's a great one. There are apps where you can record yourself speaking English, like Google Voice Recorder or even the basic recorder on your phone. You can listen to yourself afterward, which helps you understand how you sound. It's a little strange at first, but it's really useful.
I agree, and you can pick something to talk about, like your day or something you enjoy, and just practice speaking for a few minutes each day. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about getting used to speaking in English.
Also, if you have a friend who's learning English too, you can send voice messages to each other. It's a fun way to practice speaking, and you get more comfortable using English naturally.
Yes, and now here's another tool that's perfect for learning vocabulary: flashcard apps. Apps like Anki or Quizlet let you create flashcards with new words and their meanings. You can also add example sentences to see how the word is used.
And with flashcard apps, you can review the words every day or whenever you have a little time, like when you're waiting in line or on the bus. It's a good way to keep learning words without feeling overwhelmed.
Right, and many of these apps use something called spaced repetition, which means they show you words at just the right time so you remember them longer. It's a really smart way to learn vocabulary.
All right, let's keep going. So we talked about language learning apps, YouTube, Netflix, voice recording apps, and flashcards. Those are all really helpful, but there's another tool that's super important, and that's podcasts, just like the one you're listening to right now.
Yes, podcasts are fantastic for listening practice. You can find English learning podcasts at every level, from beginner to advanced. And they're great because you can listen anywhere, like when you're walking, cooking, or even lying in bed. It's like having an English class in your pocket.
Exactly, and you get to hear different topics, accents, and styles. There are so many out there. Some podcasts are all about grammar and vocabulary, while others tell stories or interview people. And if you're following along with a podcast you like, you're more likely to listen often, which helps a lot with language learning.
Right, and some podcasts come with transcripts, so you can read along while you listen. That helps you connect the words you hear with how they're spelled and used in sentences. Reading along is especially helpful if you're just getting comfortable with English sounds and pronunciation.
Speaking of reading, that's actually the next tool I wanted to talk about. Reading in English is one of the best ways to grow your vocabulary and see how grammar is used naturally. And no, you don't have to start with difficult books.
Not at all for beginners and intermediates. Start with short stories, children's books, or even comics. These use simple language but still help you learn a lot. There are also graded readers, which are books written especially for language learners. They're designed to match different levels of English, so you can find ones that feel just right for you.
Exactly, and once you get comfortable, you can try reading the news or blog articles about topics you like. Some news websites even have easy English sections where they write news stories in simpler words. It's great practice, and you get to learn more about what's happening in the world.
Yes, and here's a tip. If you're reading an article or a short story, try to guess the meaning of new words based on the sentence or the paragraph. Don't look up every word right away. Try to understand from context first. This helps you get better at reading without stopping too much, and you might surprise yourself with how much you can understand.
That's such a good point, Emma, and if you find a word that's really important, or if you keep seeing it, that's the time to look it up and maybe even add it to your flashcards. Now, another powerful tool for learning is social media. Yes, social media can be more than just a way to pass the time. It can actually help you learn English.
Absolutely. Social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok have so much content in English, including a lot of accounts that focus on teaching English. Some English teachers post short videos explaining grammar, vocabulary, or pronunciation tips.
Yes, and because these posts are usually short, they're easy to follow. Plus, since they're in English, you're getting real, everyday language. You can even practice writing by leaving comments in English or joining conversations. It's a nice way to get used to using English casually.
Exactly, and there are also groups and forums where English learners can talk to each other. Sites like Reddit have communities for language learners where people share tips, ask questions, or just chat in English. Practicing with other learners can be really helpful.
And that brings us to another tool, online dictionaries. There are so many good ones out there, like Merriam-Webster or Cambridge Dictionary, which even have audio pronunciations. A dictionary might sound like an obvious tool, but using an online dictionary is actually different from using a paper one. You can hear the word, see example sentences, and even learn related words.
Yes, and some dictionaries also have apps, so you can check words anywhere. I also recommend looking at more than just the translation. Pay attention to examples of how the word is used in sentences. That's how you'll understand its meaning better.
And don't forget about pronunciation tools. Some dictionaries also have videos or phonetic symbols that show you exactly how to pronounce words. You can practice by listening to the audio and repeating it out loud. This is really helpful for words that don't sound the way they're spelled.
Absolutely, and another great tool for practicing pronunciation is using a speech recognition app. There are apps like Google Assistant or Siri, where you can ask questions or give commands in English. These apps only understand you if your pronunciation is clear, so it's good practice. Just ask simple questions or say something and see if it understands you.
I love that tip. It's such a simple way to check your pronunciation. And speaking of apps, let's talk about grammar checkers and spell check tools. When you're writing in English, it's normal to make mistakes, especially with grammar or spelling. But tools like Grammarly or the spell checker in Microsoft Word can really help you catch those mistakes.
That's right. Grammarly, for example, checks your grammar, spelling, and even suggests ways to improve your writing. It's a great way to learn because it shows you the correct way right after you make a mistake. So you're learning as you write, which is fantastic.
Yes, and there's also the Hemingway app, which can help you make your writing simpler and clearer. It's a bit like a personal editor. You paste in your text, and it shows you where sentences might be too long or complicated.
All right, we're back. Let's dive into some more tools that can really make a difference in your English learning journey. So, we've covered a lot so far: language learning apps, podcasts, YouTube, social media, and even online dictionaries. Now, let's talk about something a bit different: online language exchange platforms.
Yes, language exchange is such a cool way to learn. There are websites like Tandem, Speaky, and HelloTalk that connect you with people from around the world. The idea is simple. You chat with someone who's learning your language, and they help you with English. It's a win-win.
Exactly. And it's a way to practice real conversations with someone who's also learning, so you can both feel comfortable making mistakes. Plus, talking with someone helps you pick up slang, expressions, and casual ways of speaking that you might not find in textbooks or apps. You get that natural flow of conversation.
And what's great is that it can be flexible. If you prefer texting, you can start with messages, and if you want to practice speaking, many of these platforms have a call feature. You can choose whatever makes you feel comfortable. And speaking of practicing conversations, there's also the option of joining online English classes or groups.
Yes, taking part in online classes or joining a study group can be super helpful. Platforms like italki, Reply, and Cambly connect you with real English tutors. It's more interactive, and since you're talking to a teacher, you can ask questions, practice specific skills, and get feedback right away. It's like having a personal English coach.
That's true, and sometimes you can join group classes, which are usually more affordable and let you practice with other learners. Group classes are especially helpful if you're looking to build confidence in speaking with new people. And now that we're talking about building confidence, another tool that can help is journaling.
Journaling in English is such a great practice. Even if it's just a few sentences each day, writing about your thoughts, your day, or even just something you learned helps you feel more comfortable expressing yourself in English. It's like talking to yourself on paper. And the best part is, you don't need to worry about mistakes. No one else will see it.
Right, it's just for you, and you can see your progress over time. You might look back in a few months and realize how much better your sentences are or how your vocabulary has grown. Plus, writing about your day or thoughts can help you remember and use new words you've learned.
Another tool that's a bit similar is blogging. Some people start blogs in English as a way to practice writing for an audience. It doesn't have to be public, but writing for a blog can push you to put more thought into what you're saying. And if you're comfortable sharing, you might get comments from native speakers or other learners who can give feedback.
Exactly. Blogging is like taking journaling to the next level. It's great practice if you enjoy writing and want to improve your skills. Now, let's talk about a tool that's really popular, but not everyone thinks of it as a learning tool: of video games.
Video games can actually be really helpful, especially ones that have a lot of dialogue or text. Games like Minecraft, The Sims, or even adventure games have stories and conversations that are in English. And because you're focused on the game, you naturally try to understand what's being said.
Yes, you get to learn words that come up in different situations, and you're having fun at the same time. There are also some games specifically designed for language learning, like Influent or English Attack. They're educational but also feel like regular games, so they keep you interested.
And don't forget that if you play online multiplayer games, you can even talk to other players in English. You'll need to communicate, give instructions, or maybe even make friends from other countries. It's a unique way to practice listening and speaking in a real-world context.
That's so true. Now let's look at a tool that can help if you're preparing for exams or just want to measure your progress: online English tests and quizzes. Websites like British Council and Cambridge English offer free tests, so you can see where you're at and what you need to work on.
Yes, and some tests are specific to grammar, vocabulary, reading, or listening skills, so you can focus on the areas you feel are weaker. It's a way to check your improvement without waiting for a teacher or a class. And you can make it a routine to take a small quiz every week just to see if you're getting better.
And speaking of routines, having a study planner or using a productivity app can help you keep track of your learning. Apps like Notion, Evernote, or even Google Calendar let you set goals, plan study times, and track your progress. Learning English is easier if you keep it organized.
That's a great point, Max. You could set small, daily goals like learn 5 new words or listen to 1 podcast episode. And it feels good to check things off your list. It helps you stay motivated because you can see all the progress you're making.
Exactly, and as we wrap up, here's one last piece of advice for all of you. Be patient with yourself. Learning a language takes time, and it's completely normal to feel stuck sometimes. But with all these tools we talked about today, you have so many ways to keep practicing and moving forward.
Absolutely. Remember, learning English doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be consistent. Every little effort counts, and with time, you'll see progress. So don't worry too much about mistakes. Just keep trying, keep exploring these tools, and keep having fun with your learning journey.
And that's it from us. We hope you found these tools helpful and that you're excited to try them out. There's something here for everyone, so take what works best for you and enjoy the journey.
Bye for now. Keep learning and enjoy the journey.